And here we are live at the eNCA online newsroom in Hyde Park, Johannesburg. We're about to cross through to reporter Dianne Hawker, who is at the North Gauteng High Court. Thokozile Masipa has asked for a break, after which we'll go back into court. What was the final verdict in the Oscar Pistorius trial?
Well, Judge Thokozile Masipa went for charges which are Pistorius' final verdict. She said that he's not guilty of the main charge, which is a murder charge. She convicted him on a culpable homicide charge, which is an alternative charge to the main murder charge. On the second count, which is a charge relating to discharging a firearm in public, she found him not guilty. Now, this charge relates to an incident in which Oscar Pistorius was accused of firing a weapon out of the sightlines of a moving vehicle. She said the state hadn't proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt. When it came to the third charge, it was also a charge relating to contravention of the Firearms Control Act, and this had to do with a shooting incident at the Tasha's restaurant at Melrose Arch. Judge Masipa found Pistorius guilty of that charge. So that's two. So that's guilty of culpable homicide and guilty of two contravention of the Firearms Control Act.
Yeah. And Dianne, just in terms of that, the one thing she touched on was the incidents, both incidents, the shooting incidents involving or with Darren Fresco present. Can you just talk a little bit about what the discussion in court was regarding Darren Fresco and what the lawyers were debating, what the advocates were debating there? Dianne? All right, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty there, so to just summarize what Dianne Hawker has just been through in terms of Judge Thokozile Masipa's ruling, her verdict in the Oscar Pistorius trial. Firstly, she's found Oscar Pistorius not guilty of murder. She's found him guilty on an alternative charge, which is the charge of culpable homicide. Certainly in terms of a lot of lay people, the confusion there is that there seems to be quite a similarity between dolus eventualis and culpable homicide, but in terms of legal kind of language and legal understanding, that's not the case at all. She's found him guilty of negligence or contravention of the Firearms Act as well. She has dismissed a charge around Oscar Pistorius being in possession of ammunition, which he didn't have a license to possess. That's something that she ruled out, she dismissed from the court, and then in court they carried on with proceedings and discussions around one of the secondary characters in the Oscar Pistorius trial, namely Oscar's friend Darren Fresco. Interestingly, in those discussions, Judge Masipa also mentioned an ex-girlfriend of Oscar Pistorius who was on trial, who gave testimony in the court proceedings, Samantha Taylor. Samantha Taylor, it happens, has released a book about her relationship with Oscar and is actually in the UK at the moment, busy doing a book tour. So for some, that timing might be somewhat interesting and not at all a coincidence. And eNCA.com is certainly working on getting some of the copy from Samantha Taylor's book. Dianne, do we have you back there outside court? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I hope that you can hear me, Erin. Unfortunately, there's so many songs in this area. And everyone's kind of trying to do live practice in some format or another, so you might lose me again to get to that. I know we were chatting about just before, you did a bit of a summary there. Darren Fresco was in court today, and he had his own legal counsel present as well. Although they didn't give any representations to the court, they just said that he would abide with whatever it is that the court decided. So basically, there was a possibility that Darren Fresco could be charged for his involvement if the court found that he wasn't truthful when he testified with relation to the Tasha's incident. That Masipa found that there were some contradictions when it came to Darren Fresco's evidence, but she also found that those contradictions were minor contradictions, and even though he wasn't a very convincing witness, ultimately on the main points of count three, that's Natasha's incident, he testified truthfully, he said what had happened, not a liable person in any way, and he can't be charged for anything relating to that incident.
Dianne, if we can just go back to that moment where Judge Masipa asked Oscar Pistorius to stand. He was in front of her in the dock, looking up and hearing really his fate after this long 6-month trial. What was the reaction from relatives, supporters for Oscar Pistorius, and then also for Reva Steenkamp and her family?
Well, we didn't see too much reaction on the faces of Reva Steenkamp's parents. Child, June Steenkamp, on the day when she attended, she didn't show that. However, Reva Steenkamp's cousin, Tim Martin, he was crying. By the decision. At one point,
Okay, so some response there. Although the Steenkamp couple, the parents of the Steenkamp, not showing much emotion throughout the trial, certainly, you know, quite sort of stern faces, but possibly, you know, just trying to hold the proceedings and the hearings the last couple of months. And then the Pistorius family, we know that Oscar's siblings, Carl and Amy, have been there throughout the trial, his father HANGOUT as well, here today for the third time that he's been sitting in on the Oscar Pistorius trial. He was also present when Oscar first applied for bail after initially being arrested after that fateful night, the 14th of February 2012. And we do know that both Oscar's siblings have been very supportive, interestingly enough, on social media. eNCA.com has covered some of that on our website. The tweets from his sister, from his brother, seemingly a lot of tweets around their faith, around their religion, praying for the family, Bible verses as well in that. And interestingly, that today Carl Pistorius actually sent out a tweet just after 10 and referred to Darren Fresco in that tweet, but very swiftly deleted it as well. And if you go into our website, eNCA.com/Oscar trial, you will see a story about the tweet, actual imagery of the tweet that Carl Pistorius sent out regarding Darren Fresco, Oscar's friend, who was present at both the shootings that happened in public places, the one in the car on the way to Muldersfontein, and the other one about the shooting at Tasha's. So that's as far as we can go now. We're going to go back into court at 12:30. Judge Masipa will then continue with her hearing regarding bail for Oscar Pistorius. We know that Harry Nell is opposing bail, or seems to be drawing that line, because he is concerned that Oscar Pistorius has sold his properties in South Africa. There is an article on eNCA.com/Oscar trial about the property and what's happened to it since then. It has fallen into some neglect, and Oscar Pistorius never returned to the building after the shooting in February 2012. And we also know that Barry Rue will advocate for that bail to be allowed. So that's as much as we have from this side in the eNCA.com newsroom, and we will keep you updated on our live blog, eNCA.com/Oscar trial.